Romans 13 to Christians in COVID. Oh, you have to obey the law. You have to wear your mask. You have to do this. And it's like, I'm sorry. They were telling us not to go to church. Is that biblical? No, we must obey God rather than men. But in this case, this is the right application of Romans 13. And if these rioters and looters, there's no order in these things. As you said, it's all chaos.
Yep. I'm ready?
You ready, Dr. Jones?
I'm...
Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones! Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are certainly on an adventure today. On the Timmy Tom Show, welcome back. The difference between fools and wise men. And the difference between peaceful protesting and mostly peaceful protesting. There's a lot of LA riots going on right now, guys. And so we're going to jump right into this. Right now, our buddy Anthony Cabasa is on the ground over there. He's been on the ground for the last 3 days. Trump has called in the National Guard because LAPD has refused to give aid to ICE, to the Homeland Security agents who are over there. And 80% of the people that ICE is arresting, they have warrants for. And they're illegal aliens that have broken the law again, not just broken the law coming in, but broken the law again once they're here, either through money laundering, sex trafficking, attempted murder, rape, I mean, you name it. And so that's 80% of the people that they're sending back. But the mainstream media and everybody else is going absolutely nuts and losing their mind as usual and twisting things. And I can say this, you don't hate the media enough. And you can see this in our next clip coming up.
Of people, it could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
But on a biblical side, we wanted to give you some really good verses about the difference between wisdom and foolishness. And the Bible has a lot to say about a fool, doesn't it?
A fool. Yeah. The first thing that comes to my mind is a fool says in his heart, there is no God. Scripture says that's a foolish thing.
Yeah. And the reason for this is, let's look at the biblical response to these LA riots. So first of all, is illegal immigration, is that something that is good to do? I mean, does ICE have a right to deport illegal aliens?
Well, the federal law says you cannot come into this country illegally, even though for 4 years, Joe Biden and his administration threw open the door for everybody to come in. And, of course, those who are in favor of illegal immigration say they're only poor people trying to make a living for their children, trying to get a better education. However, during the 4 years when the borders were really open,
wide open, we had over 10 million people come in.
Nobody was stopping to see if people were sex traffickers, to see if they were dope dealers, to see if they were terrorists setting up cells to try to destroy America. Nobody was checking that stuff because we put it all under the banner of they're only poor people who want a better life. The law exists. We invite people to come here to have a better life, and they do it legally. So there's a method for doing that. But what we see now is the method has not been followed. The law has been broken. And now...
What does God say about laws?
Well, he says that's why laws are good, and laws are given to us first by God, but then they are given to us by our governing factors for the well-being of the people. And in America, the people get to vote for who they want to carry out their wishes. Many countries don't have that privilege. Whoever has the power makes the rules. But in America, people make the laws, and they should make laws based on biblical guidance, and they should make laws that really do protect and benefit the people who are here, but not laws that go overboard in giving unwarranted benefits to those who come illegally. Mm-hmm. God tells us the authorities are put in place for the good of the people. Mm-hmm. Authorities who have the good of the people, who they are the authorities over, have a responsibility to follow God's precepts in how they deal with that. I think it would be great if somebody would go to the governor's home and the mayor's home and peacefully protest the same way. Yeah. Throwing fire bombs, throwing bricks, writing obscenities on the walls.
It's interesting because they call January 6th an insurrection, mm-hmm. and they call these things peaceful protests.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think there were any fires on January 6th.
No, not that I remember.
No. None.
Well, it all depends on your point of view. And the only people who want to have people come in and reside illegally, and especially in California where illegal immigrants, you can get a college scholarship if you're an illegal immigrant, and those scholarships are not available to California citizens who want to go to college. Or you can get free medical, or you can get free food, or you can get free housing. And this is just for illegal people.
Yeah.
If you're a citizen who is in real need, you have a problem getting those things. It's not quite as easy as it might be for illegals. Something about that system is wrong.
Well, I'd be afraid too if I was going to lose all that.
Go ahead.
And this is what Romans 13 says, that every person is to be of subjection to the governing authority. So you want the biblical perspective on these things. For there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God. Therefore, whoever resists authority has opposed the ordinances of God. In other words, it's one thing to peacefully protest when you're rioting, looting, setting autonomous cars on fire, hitting police officers in the head with bricks and with stones, and shutting down freeways. That's not peacefully protesting. And if you're doing that, it says you're going against God. Mm-hmm. Therefore, whoever resists authority has opposed the ordinance of God, and those who have opposed will receive condemnation upon themselves. For rulers are not a cause for fear for good behavior, but for evil. Do you want to have no fear of authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same. For it is a minister of God to you for good. But if you do what is evil, be afraid. For it does not bear the sword for nothing. For it is a minister of God, an avenger who brings wrath on the one who practices evil. Plain and simple. And what I love about this verse is everybody was quoting Romans 13 to Christians in COVID. Mm-hmm. Oh, you have to obey the law. You have to wear your mask. You have to do this. And it's like, I'm sorry. They were telling us not to go to church. Mm-hmm. Is that biblical? No, we must obey God rather than men. But in this case, this is the right application of Romans 13. And if these rioters and looters, there's no order in these things. As you said, it's all chaos.
Yep.
And I want to read some of these verses about fools.
Okay.
Because check this out. Mm-hmm. Just take a gander at some of those things. See if any will pop out to you. But the Bible has a lot to say about wisdom versus foolishness. Proverbs is great for that.
The very first one, Proverbs 18:2. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion.
There you go, Proverbs 29:11. A fool gives full vent to his spirit. In other words, he has no self-control. He just does whatever he wants, whatever his emotions feel like. But a wise man quietly holds it back. Ask yourself, are the peaceful protesters doing that? If a wise man has an argument with a fool, the fool only rages and laughs, and there is no quiet.
This is our city, and this was Mexico. You can't kick us out of the land that was ours. Donald Trump! Fascism! Let our people free! Let our people ¡Suelta a nuestra gente!
What's the wind blower for?
Just for the fucking tear gas to blow it back at those motherfuckers. If you have a fucking blower, bring it out!
Oh, there's so many.
There's a lot of them.
Doing wrong is a joke to a fool, but wisdom is pleasure to a man of understanding. A fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are a snare to his soul. The one who is wise is cautious and turns away from evil, but a fool is reckless and careless.
Proverbs talks a lot about the wise men and how wisdom will keep you from the way of the violent, keep you from the way of foolish people like this. And so a Christian who may be supporting these riots or supporting these peaceful demonstrations, which they aren't, you have your facts messed up. And in fact, the true thing is, as Christians, I am completely for deporting every illegal. And that may sound harsh, but ultimately, you're supposed to uphold the law. And I do believe there should be a category system. Like if you've been here 20, 30 years and you've been peaceful and you have a work permit, I mean, that's one thing, right? That's a different category. But if you're breaking the law, you need to go. You absolutely need to go. And especially with all these protesters who are waving the Mexican flag, if you love Mexico so much, then go there.
It always seems strange to me that you leave a country because you don't like what's happening in the country and you feel you're not being treated fairly or getting what you need. So you go to another country that freely gives you things, and then you say, I want this country to be like my old country was.
Yeah.
That doesn't make much sense.
I think Charlie Kirk is the one who says, America's the only place where those who hate it refuse to leave.
Absolutely true.
Yep.
And as you've said, there are plenty of means for people to come here legally. There's plenty of means for people to get special safety permits because they're being faced with death for various reasons in their own country, so they can come in without going through the regular admission process because they're refugees and they need refuge from something that's extremely dangerous or deadly to them. So there are lots of means for people coming here who have real needs, and people who have desires to come. Their need is not quite as pressing, but they have a great desire to come. There's a legal means for them to do that too. So we're only talking about those who have come illegally. And I'm constantly perplexed by people who say, keep the laws except for the ones that you don't like.
Yeah.
It's okay to break those laws. We have a particular party in this country that does that all the time. And they're responsible for most of the mayhem that goes on here. But
they are, because they don't uphold law and order.
Well,
everything that's happening in LA right now completely falls on Mayor Bass's shoulders and Gavin Newsom. Because Gavin Newsom was the one who should have sent in the National Guard.
Right. If he was really interested in preserving peaceful demonstrations, once you see that a demonstration is not being peaceful, once they're destroying property, looting, setting things on fire, and writing obscenities on buildings in paint, you know it's not a peaceful protest.
No.
So at that point, those in authority should do something to say, wait a minute, those parts are not peaceful and we've got to stop those parts.
Yep.
But they're not willing to do that. From a spiritual point of view, they're not willing to do it because their God is actually Satan, whether they recognize that or not.
Exactly. And that's what Romans 13 says, that if you disobey the laws that God has put in through authority, you're disobeying God. Simple as that.
When there's unrest that goes on, it's always called, for the left always calls it, and the media, who follows the left in this country for the most part, calls it peaceful protests. But the minute there's something that doesn't look peaceful, like January 6th, which actually was far more peaceful than anything that's going on in Los Angeles, then it's insurrection, our democracy is going to crumble. I saw an interesting headline just recently. This is off the track slightly, but an interesting headline that was published in the 1880s, a news article that said, if we don't do something about climate change right away, global warming right away, by the year 2000, our civilization will be destroyed, our coastal cities will be underwater, and all havoc will be reigning.
How dare you?
God didn't get that message. I don't know why,
Yeah.
because things didn't crumble in 2000.
In fact, I saw pictures of the Antarctic, and the ice is actually increasing.
In both the North and South Pole, the ice is growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Babylon Bee had a great story about
Funny how that works.
Al Gore was going to get his hair dryer and go and melt that ice so that it could be the flooding that he predicted 40 years ago.
What a hero.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I wonder if they'll change their tune about global warming and climate change now that the ice is increasing and not
Yeah.
decreasing.
But you make a good point. The same people that tell you that it's okay for men to be in women's sports, that it's okay to murder your child in the womb, that it's okay for gays to get quote unquote married and to adopt children and IVF and open borders and Trump's a bad man and global warming was real, and they're telling you the riots are mostly peaceful, that should alarm you.
It should let you know that their perspective and their speak is not true.
Exactly. Well, we got to wrap up.
Yep.
But yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comments. Are these peaceful protests, or are they actually, to quote the left, insurrections? Because that's kind of what it seems like to me.
Isn't it interesting how they use certain words? You know, if I use a toothpick, one person would say he's picking his teeth, but somebody would say he's doing a wonderful job of oral hygiene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Tomato, tomato. Anyways, let us know what you guys think in the comments, and we'll sign off. But if you missed our video about Jesus in the Old Testament, which you want to see because you should study the Old Testament, Jesus said, I didn't come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. Right. Check out this next one coming up.